Hey everyone, welcome back to my Earth Friendly Kitchen. I'm Maria, your host, and today we're making New England clam chowder. So this is soup season. All winter long for me is soup season. Basically, as soon as the weather turns below 70 degrees until it goes back up over 70, you can have soups all year long if I could help it. So this is just one of those really comforting, really homey, delicious kind of New England style, soups. So clam chowder can come either Manhattan, which is a red style, or the New England clam, which is the cream-based style. So we're going to be doing that one today because that's our favorite. And it's just really simple ingredients, very minimal prep time, and we're going to be using canned clams today. Don't come for me in the comments. Whole clams are just fine. You can get them fresh if you want, but, we're trying to be sustainable and low cost, so canned clams work just as well for me in this soup when I make it at home. So we're going to be chopping up our veg very small bites, because it's going to be a soup, right? So you want everything to be kind of like small and uniform. We're going to start with 3 stalks of celery. And everything is going to go in together for the most part. So I have 1 bowl for my celery, carrots, and onions, or the mirepoix. And then we're going to just bring our potatoes over on the cutting board. Now sometimes, I think potatoes in clam chowder is controversial, if I recall correctly. Some people do it, some people don't. I've always had it with potatoes in it. I think it's just one of those things. It's just how we've always done it. But I've read online that some people are like, no potatoes in the soup, just clams. I'm like, okay. But I always thought it gave it an extra boost, and we're actually going to be show you a little trick later on to actually thicken up the soup itself with the potatoes later. So because the starchiness of them actually add and make it a nice natural thickener for the soup. Okay, I must have kept the butt on the other side of that onion all the way. So just going to chop these up. Again, you want to try to make things as uniform as possible. Nice small dice. Not only because you want small bites in the soup, but you also want it to cook evenly. That's the goal of any kind of, dish where you have multiple vegetables that are going to cook all together. Because if you cook everything for the same amount of time, and yet some stuff is small, some stuff is big, right? Then you're going to have uneven cook times. And then if you think something's done, some things may be overdone if they're too small, and some things might not be quite done enough if everything else is turning to mush, And unless you're blending the soup with a blender, you don't necessarily want to turn things into mush, right? So you want to try to keep it nice and uniform. Always tuck your fingers in when you're chopping to protect those fingers, and nice small dices. Okay? So we're doing a whole medium-sized onion there. And then we're also going to add 1 medium-sized carrot. This is my freezer bag, by the way, guys. This is where I keep all my scraps for vegetable broth that I make when it gets full. So that's why I have this bag out. If you are new to my channel, that's why I'm putting that in there. So we're just going to peel this carrot. I know some people prefer to leave the skins on. That's okay. I've done it both ways. Just today I want to try to get this carrot in without the skins for aesthetic reasons. But we will use them in our broth, in our vegetable broth. And also the same thing with the ends here. Now carrots can be a little bit tough sometimes because they're round, right? Anything with a round shape. So just really carefully cut in between your fingers like that. Lay them flat, and then it's easier for you to cut into sticks. Just like that, cut into sticks. So then we can have really nice, even, small pieces. So sticks and dices. That's what we want to do. So you can see you can get them a nice small dice, just like your onions and celery. Okay? So mirepoix is a French term that was named after a servant, I believe, of one of the aristocrats in old France. That was his name. And this is how they used to make all of their soups back then. You can find it in pretty much any broth, except in New Orleans. Their mirepoix is otherwise called the Holy Trinity. That's actually onion, celery, and green peppers. So this lemon we're just going to cut and put on the side for now. And this potato we are also going to peel. Now, potato peels I don't necessarily put in my broth, so these guys are going to go in my composter. I have also made them into chips before. I've taken the potato peels and I've kind of dried them out a little bit, you know, dabbed the water out of them, and then sprinkled them with salt, pepper, and a little bit of oil, and crisped them up in the oven on a low heat, and they came out really delicious. I mean, like potato skins, right? I mean, people eat potato skins all the time. Usually you stuff them with like cheddar or bacon or something, you know, for a lot of people, but you can make them into nice chips too. They get nice and crispy in there because they're so thin, you know, when you do that. I think that guy's full. We got to run him soon. All right. So same thing for your potato. Just be careful it doesn't roll out from underneath you. Try to make it as, you know, easy as possible for you to handle. And we're just going to be doing the same thing. Now the potatoes are going to be a little bit bigger, just slightly bigger than your onions, celery, and carrots. But they're still going to be fairly small bites, and you want to try to get them, again, as uniform as possible because that's going to help, you know, the cook time. So once this prep is done, guys, we're literally just going to be throwing everybody into the pool and then letting it cook together. So this is the brunt of the work at this point, which I love. You know, I love being able to just kind of prep everything all together, what we call mise en place, right? Another French term means everything in its place. And once it's all done, all that's left is to put it together and let it do its delicious thing. If you guys have a soup that you love to go to, like a go-to comfort meal type of soup, to me, any soup is that way. But I think New England clam chowder with some crusty bread is one of those things that we just, I don't know, up here in the Northeast, it's very, very cozy and familiar. Okay, so that one smallish medium potato made all of this chopped up potato, so you won't need anything more than that. Okay, so we're going to bring all this now over to the stove. We're going to put it together. Come on over. Okay. So already over here as well, I have the rest of my ingredients. So I'm just going to put a little bit of olive oil into the bottom of the pot and turn this on about a medium to high heat. And we're going to throw our mirepoix in, all that veg. We're just going to let that start to sweat a little bit. And while that's sweating, we're going to open up all of our cans. You guys are going to see me with the can opener today. You know, usually, I like to open these things up ahead of time so you don't have to see me struggle. But I wanted to show you, what we're actually putting in today. So we're going to be doing 5-ounce cans of minced clams. So 3 5-ounce, so 15 ounces of minced clams. And we're going to be doing 2 10-ounce cans of whole clams. Now, the reason I do it that way is because I like the difference in texture. I like to add, in the soup, the clams by themselves, they have this really nice toothiness to them. And you want to have that kind of diversity, because if you only put minced or chopped clams and not necessarily the whole clams, you might lose what it kind of, in clam chowder, it's like kind of chunky and hearty, right? And so if you just put the minced or the chopped in, you'll lose some of that hardiness. So I love adding the whole baby clams as well into the dish. Now make sure you get the shelled kinds. I learned not too long ago that you can get shelled or clams with the shell on in a can as well. And to me, it's like, why? Why? I mean, I don't know. What's the point of preserving the shell? You get more clams in the can if you take the shell off, right? I don't know. Maybe that's just the consumer in me. So, all right. So you hear the veg starting to sweat. Nice and aromatic already. Now you don't want to do this for too long, right? Because it's going to cook in the broth. So we're going to add our potatoes and toast them up also a little bit. And then we're going to let this cook down. Once we add everything in, we're going to let it cook for about 15 to 20 minutes until all the veg is soft and nice bite to them. You don't want them, again, to be like super mushy, but you want them to be, you know, good to, you know, bite down in. And you don't want anything super crunchy in the soup. Again, it's a nice, toothy, but, you know, cozy, creamy soup. All right. So to this, before we add in our clams and our juice, we're going to add some onion powder. We're going to do about a teaspoon. Just measuring with our heart today, guys. And then another teaspoon of garlic. Give or take. And then we're going to do about a half a teaspoon of thyme. Okay. And some salt. We're going to probably do about a teaspoon, teaspoon and a half. You know, the clams themselves with the preservatives, they have a little bit of sodium in them, right? Because it's just part of the canning process, and that's very natural and normal. Also, they're from the ocean, right? There's a natural salinity there. So you don't want to put too much salt, but, you know, you are going to add a little bit of cream. You have a lot of the veg in there. So you just want to be, you know, keep an eye on it. And, you know, you can always add more salt later if you need to. But at this point, I would just let it do its thing and then see how things come together with just this about a teaspoon and a half, okay? All right, so now that's all in, we're going to add our clams. And we're going all in with juice. Oh, I don't want that piece of paper in there. Juice and clams together, okay? So all the juice, because we want that delicious brine to go into the broth, okay? And we're just going to add this all in. And then we're going to add additional clam juice from the bottles. Now these are 8-ounce bottles that we're adding in. So because we're adding all this clam juice, we don't need a ton of vegetable broth. We only need about a cup of broth. And we're going to, because some of this is going to evaporate, right? The potatoes are going to absorb some of the water as well, or some of the liquid. We're going to add about a tablespoon of Worcestershire sauce. Worcestershire sauce. Why does everybody have a hard time with that word, right? I don't know. Maybe some people don't, but I feel like everyone I know has a hard time. And then, so then we're just going to do a cup of vegetable broth. Again, we're just kind of measuring with the heart today. All right, and then just don't forget your lemons that you cut, because you want to brighten this up. It is a seafood dish, right? So lemon really helps bring out the natural salinity and the natural ocean flavor of any kind of seafood that you make. All right, so now it's all together. Give it a good stir. And we're going to let this go. We're going to bring this up to a boil. Then we're going to turn it down and let it simmer for about 15 to 20 minutes covered. And we'll see you back when it's ready. Okay, see you in a bit. Okay, so we're back. The soup has been cooking on low simmer for about 15 to 20 minutes or so. And the vegetables are nice and soft. I stick a fork through the potatoes because those were the largest veggies that we cut, right? And you want to make sure that the largest ones are nice and cooked. So we're going to add to this now. Actually, first I'm going to taste it to see what we need to add necessarily in addition to what I'm planning on. A little bit of the broth. It's actually perfect. I can just eat it as it is, but we're going to make it even better. All right, so first we're going to take a little bit of butter. This is going to add some richness, and it's only going to be about a tablespoon or so of butter that we're going to add into here. And that's going to obviously melt very nicely with the heat. And we're going to add about a 1/4 cup of heavy cream. This is going to give it its nice creaminess. Okay. And you don't need a lot, right? A little bit goes a long way. And as the butter with the cream, it's going to give it that real richness that we're looking for. Now, my secret trick to thickening up my New England clam chowder, some people do a cornstarch slurry. Some people do a roux with flour and water, and butter, and they mix it in before they even put their veggies in to thicken up their soup. But to me, since you already have some potatoes in there already, my trick is a little bit of potato flakes from the box. It thickens it up a little bit. It doesn't change the flavor profile, and you don't get that potential for gummy, flour or cornstarch slurry that can sometimes happen when you add those things in. So I'm just going to add a cup of these potato flakes, and we're going to see how far that goes. And they're just going to melt right into your soup and thicken it up and give it that really nice hardiness. And you want to go little by little at a time, because at first it'll seem like, oh, you didn't put anything in there at all. But as the potato flakes really go into the broth, it'll develop a little bit over time. It'll thicken up. And you really are going to feel it with your spoon as you go. It's going to start giving you a little bit more resistance. Okay. So this, I'm actually going to put 1/2 cup more in, because I think it's almost there. And this is another great sustainable product that you can just keep in your pantry for so long, and it hardly ever goes bad. Even past expiration, especially if, that's on the box, especially if you have it in sealed. This is open, but I use potato flakes pretty often. And so it's open container for me, but if I didn't use them that often, I would put them in like a container. So now look at that. Look how creamy and delicious and thick that looks. So nice and hearty. Oh my gosh. That's it, guys. We're done. It's so simple. Like I said, all of the heavy prep is right in the beginning. And then once you're at this point, you just have delicious, creamy clam chowder soup. So I'm just going to put some in a bowl here so we can try it. I also love this ladle. If you guys see, on one side it has the spout and the other side it has a strainer. It's like so cool, right? The strainer. I actually got this from Pampered Chef, but I'm sure you can find it from somewhere else. And just look how hearty. Look at all the veg, the clams. Look at those whole clams, what I'm talking about, right? You're going to have clam in every bite of this soup. I'm just going to taste it for you. Oh my goodness. If you never tried New England clam chowder, this is your chance. Make it at home. It's super comforting, super warm. This is going to make 6 to 8 servings for you. You'll have leftovers unless you have a really big bowl and you don't have leftovers. Take it to work, take it to school. Enjoy it. I hope you do. Let me know if you do in the comments. And for more videos like this, don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel. See you guys on the next one. Bye.